names that we brought over here from Egypt and from Palestine are actually Hebrew in origin. Okay, so the second wave of migration came during the reign of Solomon, and it was during this time that the tin mines of Cornwall were discovered.
So now give me a date about Solomon's time.
This is 1000 BC. Okay. 1000 BC. Now, from 1000 BC to 745 BC, which we discussed earlier, it was pretty obvious to the Israelites that the Assyrians were getting ready to invade and take all these people captive. And so many Israelites decided to leave, and they left by ship. In the ships of Dan and Zebulun and Issachar, etc. Okay. And they're the ones who settled in Wales and Scotland, okay? And of course they mixed with the rest of the Israelites who had settled there 500 years earlier, okay?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And now the Welsh.
Now let me ask you a question.
Yes.
When they mixed with them, were they conscious of who they were?
I think they were. I think the first two waves were conscious, although they didn't always get along, just as the Israelite tribes never did get along with each other, okay? Mm-hmm. They always had internecine warfare. But the Welsh call themselves the Cymru. And that word Cymru is actually Assyrian it's a derivative of the Greek, which is Chimerioi, which is the name of King Omri, who was the king of Israel. Right after Solomon, he was before Ahab, okay? So it was King Omri, who was known to the Assyrians as Gomri, and who was, by the Welsh known as Cymru, and, it was, these Welsh who are actually, Israelites who migrated during this time and brought the Hebrew language with them. The Hebrew language and Welsh are virtually 100% identical.
So
there's
now
virtually no difference.
The Welsh and the Hebrew?
Yes.
Wow. Now, what tribe would this have been? A mix?
Yeah, it would be mixed. The Welsh would be a mixture of various tribes of Israel. Yes. Okay. But they're the ones who brought the Hebrew language with them. And even here in America, we have Welsh and Gaelic-speaking clubs. And so, unfortunately, Welsh Wales maintained a separate culture, although the English were trying to defeat them over the, last 3,500 years, numerous times, okay? But the Welsh have maintained their separate culture, and praise Yahweh that they did, because they preserved the Hebrew language, Let me give you a couple of examples here. Okay. Welsh, Anafu, Hebrew, Anaf, Ami, Hamili in Hebrew, meaning plentiful or ample. The first one's always going to be Welsh, the second one will be Hebrew, and then if there's a third English cognate, I'll report that too. Anos, Anas, to drive. Anag, Anak, to incite. Akles, Akales, succor. On, Anan, abyss. Alaf, aloof, treasure. All, other. Afanj, afang, beaver. Bara, bread, etc., etc. And here's one, collar, which has maintained its meaning through all three languages, okay? So the English, of course, is a mixture of the Hebrew and the German. But the German language incorporated a lot of Syrian words and Armenian, Aramaic words, because they sojourned in Palestine much longer than either the Celtic Israelites or the Welsh, or properly called the Phoenician Israelites, because they came in Phoenician.
The etymology of the language is bringing us clear back in, back to an ancient root of some of the reasons why they have the names changed.
Yes.
Mainly because of sometimes the rulers that they were occupied by would call them a certain thing. Right, yeah. And there was I believe it's the Behistun rock, which was engraved in three languages, the Assyrian, the Aramaic, I believe, and I forget what the third language was. It wasn't Hebrew.
But by comparing the three languages on that rock, archaeologists and linguists have ascertained that that rock is talking about Israelites. Okay, under these names.
This is just amazing because during the 70s we started this equal employment, ERA, equal rights stuff, and about that time they started migrating this EEO law in America called equal employment, and so they began to remove some of the check marks for the race that you are when you apply, and that had to go into a questionnaire that did not get in front of the person hiring, just into the personnel people's file for demographics, because they had to hire so many non-whites. Well, guess what? Didn't it used to say Caucasian, and they erased that word and replaced it with white, and I'm convinced because of that was to keep us from asking the question, why does it say Caucasian?
Right, and who are the Caucasians, and where'd they come from?
So what's a Caucasian? I guess that means something that's not important, so let's just call them white. So that one little nuance of things that have been numerous throughout more modern times has actually cut us off from knowing the roots of where we came from. I mean,
this is the strategy of the Nephilim, is to destroy our heritage, and people without a past have no future.
Eli, we're getting a bunch of questions here, and no doubt you're going to have to come back on, but I'm going to ask these, and we're going to continue right where you left off, though. And here's a couple of them. Here's one of them. What's your view, this is from Reuben again, on the possibility of the 12 tribes being equivalent to the stellar constellations? I would guess, I'll just leave that. I'll just let you interpret what that means and go ahead.
There's a whole field of archaeology, ancient archaeology, related to this question. I have an article on my website entitled "The Prophetic Mazzaroth." Okay.
Oh, the Mazzaroth being the zodiac.
Zodiac. Mazzaroth is Hebrew for zodiac. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So that and numerous, I wouldn't say numerous, a handful of scholars, Joseph Seiss being one of them. He's the one.
Well, that guy wrote about the pyramid.
Right, and he also was developing the Seiss optical,
is that who that was? Yeah, I didn't know that.
He was a scientist and an archaeologist and a Bible scholar as well.
Wow,
he determined from digging into the ancient past, because he was very interested in constellations, he discovered that the oldest constellations go back to Mesopotamia. Okay. And then the Egyptians and the Greeks and the Babylonians and all of these other civilizations borrowed the ideas from the earliest Mesopotamian zodiac, which was, according to him and according to Bullinger and according to various other authors I've read on the subject, these constellations were devised by Adam, Seth, and Enoch. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And indeed, each one of the 12 tribes is represented by one of those signs.
Now, as I understand in astrology, some of these are called anchor points. Seem to even the directions seem to match up with certain ones, I guess, don't they?
Yeah, the cardinal signs, which would be Judah, which is the lion, okay? Lion is Leo, right? Dan is Scorpio, which is the serpent, okay? It's been changed to the eagle. Then the water bearer, Aquarius, was Reuben, okay? And I think the other one is Taurus. I'm not a real expert on astrology. And Taurus would be the bull, which would be Joseph or Ephraim, okay? So the four cardinal signs and the four cardinal points of the zodiac, and the four major tribes of Israel all line up, and we can trace the heraldry of these four tribes, as they migrated across Europe. Okay.
Well, we're going to talk about this migration some more and how we identify these marks here.
Yes.
I'm just going to let you run here in a minute, and I have one more question, then I have a question.
Okay.